Alright, I am here, y'all. I'm just playing with my earbuds. And I need to find out. Okay, got that going. I need to find out if my earbuds are connected to my computer. It says they are. I'm gonna just test something really quick, so.
I don't think sisters.
No, that is not. Let's see. Try that again.
I don't think Sister Sage ever.
Alright. Okay, I got my earbuds set up. Now I am going to send a little post to see if my chat box is working. The last couple times I've done a live stream, my chat box has been very finicky. Doesn't seem to be working most of the time. Okay, so I'm gonna go in here. Come on. Okay, it looks like it worked. That's good. Hello, everyone. It's Venus Brown. I am back. We're talking about the end of GenV Season 2. Still don't know if there's going to be a Season 3. I know that, I think it was Kripke talked about leaving it open so that if the ratings are good enough, they would probably make another season, but that's specifically if the ratings are good enough, and I don't actually know. I have not looked into that, so who knows? Who knows? All right. Let me see here. Oh, looks like I got tons of notes for this one. Although this was for the last one. Okay, so, I don't know exactly how I want to do this. Usually I would, do a specific setup, just based on the episode coming up. Since we don't have an episode coming up, since the last week's episode was that was the end. We're going to do this a little bit different, but I'm probably going to stick to a similar layout. So let's see. So the episode, for the most part, it's looking at how we get justice against fucked up shit going on. Nope, see, this is from the last episode, from the episode before. Just hold on a sec. Okay, all right. Yeah. So, the episode before, episode 7, they had healed Godolkin thinking that he's gonna be their savior, and that did not work out because Godolkin turned out to be Cypher. Or at least the person that was puppeting Cypher, and Cypher was just made up. And at the end of the episode, he kills one of the guys, and then we see the review showing he's going to set up this class for them to come in and compete against each other for top spot as a soup or whatever, but it's mostly so he can just train himself by fighting against them using his puppeting skills, also enhancing his puppeting skills so that he can hopefully brain control Marie eventually, and then hopefully from that get to a position where he could brain control Homelander. And most of the episode is him doing that, him running this class, him talking to Sage about what their plans are and how he's not going to go along with her plans because he's got his own plans that he thinks are so much better, and the students trying to figure out how they're going to stop him and doing what they need to stop him by working together. All right. Usually I would have a little trailer or something short to play, and then we would come back and I would do the breakdown. But I don't really I didn't like most of the stuff that I have here. I mean, I can play this Kate Makes Amends. It would just actually, let's play this Cypher versus Polarity. So I'm pretty sure these are just a piece of the show played again, but I have not actually watched this, so I don't know, but I think that's what it is. So let's go to my trailer scene, and it is not set. Why are you not set? You are supposed to be set up. Oh, I know why. I had accidentally closed it. No, it's not turning on. Why are you not turning on? It says Chrome. That's not the right thing. There we go. This should be it. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this. And then after we're done watching this, and like I said, I haven't watched it either. If it's just from the show, then of course I've watched it when I watched the episode. But I have not watched this specific video, even though it probably is just part of it. Okay, like I said, that was from the previous episode, but whatever, that's okay. Let me go back. Alright, and we will go back to my live screen. I'm going to take these out because my ears are itching a little bit. Just a little bit. I have this bad habit of wanting to scratch things and having earbuds in there. Even though those are better than the ones that sit right in my ears, but it still itches a little bit. Alright, so let's see. What do we have for the breakdown of this episode? Okay. When it starts out, it shows Godolkin back when he was in that fire. And I wrote, "Fire, let's take V and burn all to hell. Great idea. What do you do when you've got an ageless soup who's been a vegetable for decades? How do you defeat said soup?" So, yeah, he's in this fire and he sees the V1, which we're explained that later, but he sees the V1 and he gets up to take that. And then he burns up in the fire, which is why he's got burns all over his body. And the whole time I'm thinking, why the fuck aren't you trying to get the fuck out of there? Like, you can grab the V1 and get the fuck out of there so you don't end up burnt all to hell. But no, he doesn't do that. And I don't know, maybe because they were locked down or whatever, maybe he wouldn't have been able to get out, but to me it was crazy. Just crazy. So, let's see. And they tell us that V1 was what Soldier Boy and Stormfront had used. And that Soldier Boy, Stormfront, Godolkin had all used it, and it makes them almost ageless. Like, they age, but it takes a super long time. And then we're shown, what was his name? George? Doug. We're shown Doug. I think he's driving with or being driven by polarity, and he's talking about, or no, was that this episode? I don't know if it's while he's in the car, but at some point he's talking to polarity about what had happened to him. Back in 96, Blockbuster's going out of business. It hadn't completely gone out of business at that point, I don't think. I think it was later on. But it was doing badly, so a lot of stores were closing. He loses his job. He's living out of a car with his cat, and he's trying to fix VCRs to bring in a little bit of money. And Dr. Fielder, he comes to visit Dr. Fielder. Dr. Fielder was the first puppet that Godolkin was using. And then Godolkin starts to puppet Doug for Doug to kill Dr. Fielder. He kills Dr. Fielder, and then he becomes the puppet. And it's been decades. Like, this guy has been being puppeted by Godolkin for decades. That would fucking suck ass. So bad. Let's see. He also says that Marie is actually a lot more powerful than Marie gives herself credit for. That he tried over and over again to puppet Marie while she was in Elmira, and he wasn't able to do it. She's like, "I'm not that powerful." And he's like, "Oh no, he tried. He tried over and over again. He wasn't able to crack that brain up there of yours." So yeah, she was too powerful, even though she didn't think she was. All right. All right. We get a lot more of Sage in this episode. I mean, really, like, Sage is one of the ones who's in the boys, and she was actually in this season quite a bit. Quite a bit. Because she's an integral part of the season. Her plans are a big reason why all this shit is happening. So she has plans with Godolkin. Um, and she's like talking with him and suggesting, well, I live in this tower and it kind of sucks, but if you really wanted to, there's room, you could like move in with me. And he doesn't seem to be into it, and so she's like, I don't know, never mind. But yeah, then he starts to like talk about how, oh, you're so, I've never seen you like this. You're so vulnerable. It's such a turnoff. Like, like, okay, let's make great plans with Godolkin, but first, let me turn around and diminish you. Yeah, that worked great. And come up with my own plans. And that's what he does later on. Like, one of the main things that he does is he sends out this reel, I think is what it was. It was either, I think it was either Facebook or Instagram or something like that. He sends out this video saying, hey, I've reset all the scores to 0. You all have like this chance. If you have never been in the top 10 or whatever, you have a chance now, even without any of the propaganda, without any of the PR and all of that. Come over to my seminar and try to compete for your position at the top of the list or whatever. And that's what he does most of the time in this episode, is he conducts this class, which is all him puppeting these kids to fight each other so that he can expand his power, which I think I talked about that before. But yeah, that's the main thing he's doing. And after his like first class, and he starts like he finds out that like he can puppet multiple of them at the same time. And one of the things he tells Sage is like, before, like, I wasn't able to puppet more than 2 people at a time, and now I can like puppet this whole class. And he has them like doing this whole choreographic dance and everything. It was something. But he's like, look how powerful I am. And she talks about how like this isn't part of our plans. This doesn't do anything to help with our plans. And he explains that he wants to do this so that he can kind of strengthen his powers, so that he will eventually be able to get into Homelander's head and puppet him. And she's like, but you don't need to do that. Like, we don't need to go through this in order to do what you want to do. We already had a plan in place that will work just fine without this. And he's like, oh, but my plan is so much better. Which, yeah, you could see by the look on her face how well that went over. And that's when she exited stage left and left him to his own devices, but went to, I think, take care of the problem as she saw it. All right, let's see. It's at this point that we're in the car. Polarity's driving. Doug is in the passenger seat, and Doug is talking about how awesome and fearless and what a great hero Andre was. and that he was the greatest hero he'd ever seen. So that was pretty cool. Like, just another one of the many layered things that these showrunners have done this season to make um their like commemoration of Chance more than superficial. Like, a lot of shows, they'll just put in some superficial thing, or they'll just write them out of the show and won't talk about them again, or they'll do something really stupid and cheesy. And I really think this has been done very tastefully, and they have incorporated it throughout the show, and they've made it so that, that we, the audience, and the cast members get a chance to like um, really praise him and really like commemorate him in a valuable way, instead of just brushing him under the rug and acting like he wasn't ever a part of the season. So I liked that. That was good. And then Doug is like just struck right here, like impaled by whatever it was uh that Black Noir fucking killed him with. Immediate death. Poor Doug. He finally gets released, and then damn. But Death Noir comes up to Polarity, like Polarity's trying to crawl away. He gets up to Polarity and he like fucking does this goddamn selfie with him. But he doesn't kill him or anything. He takes him back to this cell where he's being held, apparently by Sage. Craziness. Okay, and then after that, we have the group of students that are the main characters in the show. They're like talking about what they can do and what's gonna happen, and they're all like, "Well, he wants to fucking puppet you," um, and then so I think it was the previous episode. Marie was being a lot like Kate and trying to use her powers to keep her friends from helping her because she thought she could do everything herself, and just like really doing some unethical, immoral things that were really freaking awful and without consent, stuff that you should really have consent, like, and your friends are not going to give you consent for. But this time she's like, no, we should do this together. We should work together, come up with a plan, and do something together. Instead of her trying to take over, stop her friends from helping her, and be the only one to do everything, she decides to that we really need to work together, which I think was really fabulous. I like the way that was done, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Okay, I already talked about this, about Godolkin doing the reel where he says he reset all the scores and you can fight to be in the top 10. But it's actually a trap for Marie and a way for him to increase his power. Excuse me. And then, excuse me. Sam and Emma and some of the students go around the school trying to warn these people not to go to this freaking seminar, that it is dangerous, that this guy is fucked up, and he's just trying to use it to get to Marie. And they go to the sorority and try to convince them, and next thing you know, they're roofied by Rufus, and they come to, and they're in the middle of these fucking pledges doing weird shit, and they both have penises drawn on their face, and it turns out that it was Black Hole that drew the penises on their face. But he did take their advice and was like, yeah, it did seem fishy, and he thought it was too dangerous, so he did not go, and he decided to stay with them and help them. So that turned out very well, and we'll see that, and we saw that later on in the episode in his part that he took for helping out. All right.
Power it off.
For the seminar, I put "Stop Godolkin for a chance to not be a failure." All right, let's see here. All right, so one of the things that I noticed, and I'm sure everybody else noticed it also, when Godolkin was puppet mastering all these people, you started seeing those boils and bubbles coming back up, and you could see that when Sage was talking to him about this plan, and she could tell that he was pretty much overriding her plan. She also brings up the bubbles. She brings them up. I really want to go back over it and kind of pay attention to the whole episode a little bit more detailed, because there was a lot going on, and a lot happening very quickly. And I wanted to see like better like what she was saying, because it sounded like she had some ideas about why those bubbles were reappearing and what it was really going to mean. And she says something later on to Polarity when she talks to him also. Um, Marie and Jordan speak to each other, and Marie tries to apologize to Jordan, but Jordan uses that opportunity to break up with Marie, and says he would love to, and says that they would love to just be friends. But right at that time, that's kind of when they get interrupted, and that conversation never finishes. But like you could see throughout the season that things were not going well, that a lot of the shit that had happened had really like altered Jordan's feelings and ideas about everything, and so you could see these little fissures coming up, and that it was going to happen. I still was very sad. Whenever I do show my reactions, I think you'll see that I was a little shaken up about the breakup. Like, I didn't want it to happen, even if I knew it was going to happen. I didn't want it to happen. But I don't blame them, honestly. All right. And that's when, but yeah, while they're breaking up, that's when Annabeth comes up. Annabeth comes up and offers to help, and Marie is trying to push her away again, because Marie is still concerned that, like, you have superpowers, but you're not well trained, and you don't have a lot of control. You don't have a lot of ways to defend yourself, and so she's trying to get her to go away. And Annabeth is like, "No, I'm not going anywhere. I've been running from this my entire life. It's time for me to friggin' do something." And I already talked about Godolkin being ecstatic about being able to puppet the multitudes in his nice little choreographed puppet show or whatever. And then he diminishes Sage again, like, just really, like, just some fucking abusive shit. And so yeah, that's when she exits stage left and leaves him. Okay. No one is stronger than a man with nothing to lose. That's what Sage said to Polarity when she went to him in his cell. And she says, "You're still gonna die later." And that's what I mean when she was talking to Godolkin and he had all those bubbles all over him. She had mentioned that that there was something wrong and that using his powers was messing him up, and that he's got this second chance, but it's not, you're gonna die eventually anyway. But I think she was specifically referring to whatever was going on with using these powers after Marie healed them. Like, Marie gave them a second chance, but that doesn't mean it's going to be without its downfalls. I mean, then again, she could have been referring to, we all die sooner or later anyway, but I think it was specifically like maybe she knows something. That's why I want to go back and watch it again and pay a little more attention and see if there's something to that, if she gave any more clues as to what she thought was going on. And then when she leaves, she makes a smart-ass comment to him or something. She kind of makes what sounds like a kind of degrading comment. And people have talked about how they think that it was more like her almost relating to the situation that he had gone through with his wife and child, and realizing that the situation that she's going through has some overlap. It's not the same thing, but it still has some overlap. And as she leaves, she like closes the door, but she doesn't close it all the way, so it isn't locked. And he realizes that, and he gets up after she's left and figures out, hey, this thing is completely unlocked. I can totally just walk right out of here, and he does. And then back in the seminar, the puppet master is starting on his next class. And as his next class is beginning, Black Hole shows up and has his Trojan horse, which is what the title of the show is named after. And starts popping all like a whole bunch of the students that were after Godolkin out of his ass. So that was interesting. Now, and on this part, this is where like a lot of stuff happens like really quickly. Marie also shows up in addition, which was an unplanned addition to Godolkin's second class. Emma manages to blow up without any self-harm or vomiting or anything like that. Bushmaster used her power to fucking pin Godolkin down. And then Harper like really quickly touches him and takes his power for that 1 minute. And that gives them time to grab all the people who are no longer being controlled by him, let the control over them go, and let them get the fuck out of there so they can escape. And then the other student soups that have more power than these guys stay back to fight. And I thought that was really cool. And they all like fucking beat his ass together. But it's not the end, because he manages to eventually, after he's fucking beaten to fucking shit, he manages to take control of Marie and all her friends. And he almost ends them until Polarity comes in to save the day, and Polarity and Marie join together and they fucking blow this dude up. so that it's like from here up, gone, just gone. All that's left is like guts and rib cage and shit like that. So that was some fucking crazy shit. But it happened so fast. It happened so fucking fast. All right. So, all right. I do have another video that I'm going to play, but I am going to play it at the very end because it is quite long. Instead, what I'm going to do is right now we'll go through my favorites and least favorites and all of that, which I have them a little bit different because I wasn't sure on how I want it. And a lot of times I have trouble deciding who I want to be my favorite or you know, who I want to be the piece of shit or whatever. But I think I came up with a good compromise for not knowing exactly who to pick on some of these. Okay, so my favorite scene was that ending part, and that wasn't the last part. The last part of the episode was as they were leaving, and Starlight and the other guy, I can't remember his name. They show up and ask if they want to join the resistance. So, and my understanding is that is a fairly heavy implication as to them kind of joining in on the boys' final season. Some of them, not all of them. Okay, but my favorite scene, the ending fight after everybody comes out of Black Hole's rear, and as Bushmaster is pinning him down, and then oh god, what was her name? Why didn't I write it? Harper goes and touches him, takes his power. Like, that was, like, when I realized, like, it took me a little bit to realize what happened. But as soon as I realized it, I was like, holy shit, she's got his powers. Like, that to me was such a great scene. I really loved it. I was not expecting it. So, yeah, that was my favorite scene. Just Harper, like, taking his power and then diffusing the whole fucking situation and making it so that all those students could escape and get the fuck out of there. I thought that was great. Just like all of a sudden, this person who's puppeting this entire freaking room full of people is now being controlled by her because she's got his powers and she's controlling them, and then lets go of control. Like, the whole thing happened so fast, but I loved it. Loved it. All right. Worst scene. The end of the fight where Marie and Polarity do blow him up. Like, yes, my favorite scene was during these fast things that were going on, and I thought that was really great because I wasn't expecting it, and it was somebody that I don't necessarily think of as being one of the really good soups or whatever, like really doing something substantial to help the situation. But the very end, when he gets killed, it's like it happens so fast, and it's so like it just took the excitement out of it, I think. So that was to me, the worst scene was him just like going that fast, and then just like the whole situation just, it's like it sinks it all down so fast. It makes it too unentertaining too quick. Like, I don't know exactly how they could have done it, but because they could have still made it that fast, but then still like put in some other stuff, maybe some commentary or something to make it kind of level down a little more gradually, so it wasn't, it just seemed like it just petered out right after that. and I didn't like that. Okay, VIP. I did not pick an individual person. I picked the group all collaborating the way that they did to take out the villain. I thought that was great. Because we've seen Kate and Marie and the others go through these times where they feel like they have to do things there themselves, where they push their friends away. And this was like really after Marie had just done that shit where she had controlled her friends and levitated them shit and shit like that. And Kate had just talked about not wanting to use her powers against her friends, to them like all agreeing they were going to collaborate, and we didn't have to see them collaborating. All we did was hear that they are going to work together, and then the next thing we see is them working together, like them carrying out their plan that they already made off screen that we didn't have to hear about. And I thought it was great. Like, I really loved that. The whole thing with them all working together, and that we didn't have to hear what the plan was. We just knew they were working together, and then all of a sudden, here's their plan coming to fruition. They were all able to do it together, and then Marie even tells him, like, we fucking defeated you. Even our useless soups defeated you by working together. Like, all right, piece of shit. I'm not going to say they are a piece of shit. It's in no way that they are a piece of shit. But the thing that I noticed at the end of the episode, it seems like, what was his name? Emma's boy toy, her new love interest or whatever, he like barely shows up the entire episode. And when he does show up at the end, it's basically to say he's going to stay there. Like, other than that, I didn't see him doing anything really, it seems like. So it's not that he was a piece of shit. It was that he didn't seem to take any substantial part in the events of the last season. And I don't know if there was some underlying circumstances or anything, because sometimes that happens. There are other series I've watched where we noticed that certain main characters were not there for like multiple episodes, and it turned out to be because they were in the hospital or they were doing some other big thing or whatever, and they couldn't be there for most of it. So I don't know if it's something like that, but I definitely took notice that somebody that I think they could have made could have given a more substantial part in that last episode seemed to be mostly not really doing much of anything. All right. Okay. Now, let me get some water. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to rank the episodes. And you may or may not agree with me on any of these. This is just like after going back through most of the episodes and remembering like kind of like how I felt while I was watching them and after I got done watching them. That's kind of how I ranked them this time. So, okay. So, the first episode, I'm going to tell you right now, I ranked it last. Because that first episode, there was something about it. It felt kind of cheesy and wonky. And I don't know if it was like I wasn't quite getting into it or if they weren't quite getting into it. It just seemed off to me. And so I didn't like it. And it had nothing to do with the storyline or anything like that. it had to do with just some of it just seemed cheesy and just subpar to me. So I did put that in eighth. But yeah, let's go in reverse order. So eighth place was the first episode. Seventh place was the seventh episode. Let's see what happened in the seventh episode. Marie and Kate have eloped from Stan's place. They're going to search for Cypher. And Annabeth has this vision of Marie. So most of it, Kate and Marie are searching for Cypher. And they're doing things to try to deal with Cypher. And Annabeth is trying to get the other students to help her, like, find Marie and stop Marie because it looks like she's going to die in this vision. And then well, yeah, anyway, I think you know what episode that is. That was my seventh. Sixth was the one where they tried to get Kate out of Elmira. I think mostly because it I think mostly because a lot of it was focused on that prison and then what they do after they get out of prison. It just felt a little less entertaining to me than some of the other ones. So yeah, that was the fifth episode. So the fifth episode I placed as sixth. And the fifth place is for the third episode, where Marie finds out that she was conceived in the Odessa Project. It's also the one where she confessed to loving Jordan, and Jordan doesn't at first, but then towards the end, Jordan comes back and says that they love Marie also. It's also the episode where Kate gets back from her severe head injury. And Emma starts working with the Resistance because she finds out about the Resistance and decides that this would be a good thing to use in our situation. So that was the third episode, which I put in fifth place. Fourth, the sixth episode, where they escape. No, they already escaped. No, I was thinking of a different one. Okay, so, yeah, they had already escaped, and we find out that Annabeth has these senses, but they're not well attuned. And then Stan Edgar and the other girl, they save them from Vicar, who's like trying to fucking kill them or something. And and takes them back to his bunker. And that was the episode where at the end Marie decides to leave. Kate follows along with her, and they are leaving specifically to go and get Cypher. All right. Third. Where do I have third? Oh. Okay, the last episode. Some people were complaining a lot about the last episode, and I know finales are supposed to be really awesome and they're supposed to have like stuff that you didn't figure out before and they're supposed to be like spectacular compared to the rest of the season. But I understand that sometimes it just doesn't go that way. And I felt like it went that way this series, that the final episode was not like the greatest, but I still think it was good. It was good. I definitely don't think it was worth like saying some of the shit that people were saying, that it was shit and trash and stuff like that. Like, no, I thought it was very good. I thought it was very entertaining. A lot of people were complaining that they knew the plot of the fucking story from like episode 3 or 4 or something like that. But I don't care. Like, they were claiming that that makes it boring. And I'm like, no. I don't give a damn if you knew every fucking ounce of the storyline. It was not boring. There was nothing boring about this season or that episode. Like, that doesn't make sense. I can watch shows where I've watched them all and I remember most of it and still be entertained by it. It doesn't have to be boring unless you just see it that way. And I get maybe they saw it that way because they figured it out. To me, part of the fun is trying to figure that shit out. To me, it's kind of cool. Like, if you're early on in the show and you're trying to figure out what's going on, who's really the villain, what's really happening here, and you have ideas and your ideas turn out to be the correct ideas at the end, I think that's cool. I think that's fun. But apparently some people think that's very not fun at all and very boring, and I don't agree. But anyway, I put the last episode in third. Second, the fourth episode. Did I really? I put the fourth episode as second? So that was the one where they were staging the fight between Marie and Jordan. I loved the part with Bushmaster. And the stuff with Emma almost ending up with the stuff with Emma like almost ending up with fucking Cypher's fucking penis peeing all over her or whatever. That was not great, but like there was a lot of stuff going on. Maybe that's why I put that as number 2. And that's where they find out about burnt up Godolkin, but they don't know that it's Godolkin yet. And we find out that he's meat puppeting. So I think that's why I put it number 2, because like we find out all these integral things that I had been trying to figure out, and now I'm like, that's what's happening. This is what's going on. Like, didn't have it like completely clear, but I had it enough to be like, oh wow, like this is what's happening. Like because I think for a while we were like, we don't know what Cypher's power is. We don't know what Cypher's deal is. We just know he seems bad. He seems like he's a bad guy, but he doesn't come across that way necessarily. And he seems like he's got something going on. When Marie says that he doesn't have powers, she didn't notice any V in his system, I was like, I don't think so. There's definitely powers going on. So I was excited to find out that he's being meat puppeted, or that somebody's being meat puppeted, that he has these meat puppeting powers. I did not like the whole fighting aspect, but I did like finding out that he's meat puppeting people. So that was second. First place was the second episode. I think because the first episode I just found so cheesy and like it was kind of disappointing. So I think the second episode they started finding, like, I really like finding out a lot of stuff. So the second episode, when they start finding out a lot of stuff, about Odessa and about Godolkin and shit like that, I got pretty excited about that stuff. So, yeah, and the fact that Starlight found Marie and like convinced her to go back to school because we find out there's this whole Odessa thing. Yeah, I like that. All right, so that is my ranking of all the episodes. Now I am going to put on this. Okay, so this is from Film Paradise, a YouTuber, Film Paradise. It says, Theory, what Sister Sage is really planning in the boys' GenV finale revealed. Okay, it is kind of long. It is longer than I usually would put on something like this. And I am just going to play it. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. I did say who it was. It's Film Paradise. And I suppose I can put a link to it in the chats. Let's do that. I'll put a link to it in the chat before I start playing it. If I can get all this other mess off of my screen that is interfering. Hold on. All right. Okay, so this is the link to this video that I am going to show. And go to my other screen. And let's start.
I don't
have
think
watched
Sister
part of it. I
Sage
have not
ever
watched all of
wanted
it.
Thomas
Looks like I need to put
Godolkin
my
to win.
earbuds back on.
She wanted a test, a stress test, the kind that breaks weak parts, exposes blind spots, and...
I stopped it. That's just because when you touch the top of the earbuds, sometimes it'll actually control the video you're watching. Sometimes it don't work.
tells you exactly where to push
That time
next.
it did.
On the surface, Sage shows up as the smartest person in the room. Cool, precise. It
It's
looked like a branching
longer than it
tree
needs
with
to be,
fail-safes,
but
trap
they're
doors,
trying to
and
like dig a
backups
little
for the
deeper,
backups.
so
And once you
So
lay
that's
her
okay.
Season 2 fingerprints side by side, a picture forms.
I had it.
Sage is building a world she can manage by steering its most dangerous
me, had
pieces
it a
into
little too
positions
far
she
up.
can order, and then I'll show you where it lands. First, she recruits Cypher, who we later learn is just a human puppet named Doug, controlled by Thomas Godolkin, to run God U. Why? Because Sage
Right,
needs
which
Marie
means
back
she's
on campus,
technically-
and she needs a pressure cooker to put in active contact. She wants him to accelerate his plan with Marie, but he says he's not done you. Shape, not destroy. Then, the bigger tell, Sage and Godolkin planted the Odessa breadcrumb for Annie/Starlight in the first place. A move that sent Marie straight back to campus at the start of the season, exactly as planned. Why obsess over Marie? Because Odessa babies are unicorns. Stan Edgar spells it out. In the original Odessa push, only 2 survived, Homelander and Marie Moreau. That puts Marie in a category of
yeah, that
one
whole
against the
reason
most
that
volatile
Starlighter
weapon on Earth.
Was
If your Sister
wanting
Sage,
Marie
the
to,
smartest
check
winning
out
play
Odessa was
isn't
because
killing
Sage
Marie. It's
like,
cultivating
planted
her,
the
training her
information
under
so
fire,
that she would do
and
that,
engineering
to
a
kind
story
of
where
bring Marie out of the
powerful,
woodwork.
independent, newly leveled up, chooses a side Sage can live with. So Sage lights the fuse. Cypher's hero optimization seminar isn't a class, it's a lab. He tells the kids that power sets are not fixed and then builds a kill box where pressure equals growth. He hammers Marie to stop cutting and use her mind to move blood without bursting it, to lift living targets, to extend her reach. And it works. She goes from bag of blood
Right.
drills to
So if you
levitating
think
goats
about
to the
that,
leaps
it's
we
actually
see later,
Sage's idea.
including miracle level
So it's
healing
like
and battlefield
Sage
control.
had this idea, and
Cypher
she
even
goes to
admits what
Godolkin
Sage must already
to
know.
implement it.
With training, Marie can
But
challenge
like
Homelander.
most of the time, it's
That
like
is
you
not
think
the
that
talk of a villain
Godolkin is the
trying to
one
erase
that's
her.
or
That is a
Cypher.
coach breaking his
Cypher,
star
who's
player
being
for someone
puppeted
else's
by
endgame.
Godolkin. So then
The
you
endgame?
would therefore think
Sage calls it
Godolkin is the one with
Phase
the
2.
plan, but it sounds more like
We
it's
hear it named around
Sage's plan.
Homelander. She's engineering a soup supremacist state with him at the top, then planning a next step that puts a leash on the apex predator. When Godolkin starts to get high on his own legend, she reminds him Phase 2 still needs Homelander, and that Homelander cannot handle surprises. Translation: do not spook the monster until the leash is ready. He heals his half-mummified body. Thomas stops pretending. He opens class to the entire school, resets the rankings to 0, and turns the seminar into a bloodbath to cull weak soups, while proving he can control multiple people at once, and dreaming out loud about evolving to control both Marie and Homelander. That's not Phase 2. That's a coup against it. And Sage hates it. She pushes back. He ignores her.
I think she
He even
hates
turns God You
that
into a
he has
creepy
come up
Judy
with another
Garland
plan,
puppet
thinks
show
his plan is
just to
better
flex
than
his mind
hers,
control in front of the
and that
cameras
he is
and by
completely
extension Homelander.
overhauling her plan.
That's the moment Sage flips from partner to handler to saboteur.
Like, fuck you.
Watch what she
Like,
does next. She leaves
I've done all
Polarity's
this shit
cell
for
door
you,
open,
and now you're just gonna
not
fucking turn
by
over
accident.
on me and
She knows
do your
Polarity
own
is
shit that
uniquely
doesn't go
suited to
along with what I was
disrupt
planning at all.
Godolkin's control field, and she knows Marie will be inside that room facing Thomas. If Sage truly wanted Thomas to win, she wouldn't have released the one adult whose magnetic pulses can short out the puppet strings in Thomas's head. She lets Polarity walk, and that decision breaks Thomas's grip and end the culling right there on the floor. That's not all she prepped. Earlier, Sage and Cypher had already accelerated Marie through hell. Elmira trauma, arena trials, and surgical training disguised as cruelty. That forged the exact Marie Sage ends up needing, one who can heal catastrophic neurological damage, Kate, stop
True,
genetic
and
collapse the board around Homelander instead of just surviving it. But if Sage threw Thomas under the bus, what is her true plan? Here's the theory. Sister Sage has been playing 3 boards at once. Board 1, Homelander's regime. Sage raised Homelander's influence with information warfare, street-level agitation, and careful casting. Firecracker, for example. That was Phase 1. Centralize chaos wins. When power is focused, a single lever can move it.
The big front seat on Spirit is so big, and so in the front, you'll be marveled at by groups too.
Sage's whole vibe is control through clarity. Phase 1 delivered that clarity. Homelander on a throne with a royal court she curated. Now the throne is visible, predictable, and targetable. And yes, she seeded Odessa intel to get Marie back in circulation, a control mechanism strong enough to hold Homelander. Godolkin looked like that mechanism. Decades of mind control research, the Puppet Master's power itself, and a training program that could shape the one other Odessa survivor into the perfect counter. But when Thomas went Messiah, threatening to reveal himself publicly, spook Homelander, and derail Phase 2 before it launched, Sage cut him loose. Leaving Polarity's door open wasn't mercy, it was quality control. If the leash fails safety testing, you trash the leash and move to the next prototype. Sage would never enter Phase 2 with a leash she couldn't trust. Board 3, the contingency force. That's Marie, and now the Resistance. Once Thomas is gone, what's left? A leveled up Marie with healing, extraction, and combat control.
A-Train, that was his name.
Kate with restored agency and a moral line in the sand.
Gosh. Yeah,
Jordan,
my
Emma, Sam, and a
forgetfulness
rising
lately.
network of rebel soups. Harper,
I mean, I
Allie,
have a head
Black
injury.
Hole.
That's part of it, but
It's
I
not
also
an
am going
accident
through
that when the
menopause
dust settles, Marie's crew doesn't
and some
return to Stan
depression.
Edgar's bunker.
So,
They're recruited by Starlight
the
and
psychologist
A-Train
called
into a
today
resistance
asking
cell,
several
the
questions to try
exact
to kind of
third pole you'd
get
want on the board
a
if your real
base
goal
level
is to manage the
understanding of
balance
what's
between
going
Homelander's
on.
fascist bloc and Butcher's burn-it-all crusade.
And
Notice
one of the things
Sage
she
didn't
asked
burn
about
that
was
bridge. She
my
let it
memory
form.
problems.
She even helped
I'm
make
like,
it
look,
possible
like,
by ensuring
there'll be
Marie
times
lived
where I'm
long enough
talking
to
about
get the offer.
something, and there's
If
a
your
word
aim
that
is stable dominance,
should
you
be
always
like at the
keep a
top of my
credible
head.
moral
Like
opposition
it's just
in play.
like common word.
So
I
you
should
can
have
aim
no
it,
problem
bargain
remembering
with
it,
it,
and I
or
just draw a
blame
blank
it
and can't
as
remember
needed.
it at all.
That's a
And then there's
strategist's
sometimes
dream
where
state,
I'll be
not
talking
an accident of fate.
about something,
Put it together,
and I'll just
and the shape is clear.
forget what I was
Sister
talking
Sage
about.
doesn't worship Homelander, and she
I'll, like,
never
stop,
trusted
like,
Godolkin.
lose my
She
chain of thought,
worships
and then I'll
solvable
completely
systems.
forget what I was talking
She
about.
wants a world where the
And if
unknowns
somebody
are
comes
minimized
in
and
and
the
disrupts
pieces
me,
move in lanes she can predict.
it's even more likely
Tyrants
I'm going to
are
just completely
useful
forget what I was
until
talking
they stop
about.
being predictable. Then,
It's
they're
horrible. I hate
liabilities.
it.
That's why she constantly stresses process, timelines,
But
messaging,
like names
the
that I
slow
should
boil.
know, like A-Train.
Early on, she warns that Homelander cannot take surprises, which reads like care,
Like the stuff like
and
Emma's
also reads
boyfriend
like a note
not
she's
knowing
really
his
writing
name.
to herself. Don't
That's
surprise
not, like,
the
that's not
apex predator.
surprising to me
Don't
or
introduce
unusual
variables
to
you
me.
can't control.
Not for me. For
Don't
me,
let
I
a
have hard
mind
time
controller
learning
with a god
people's
complex
names. I
live
always
stream
have.
his coming out party
And
minutes
it's worse
before
now,
phase
but
2.
I've always had a hard
She
time
didn't
learning
flinch
people's names.
because she
But
lost her
names like
nerve.
A-Train, I
She
knew
flinched
that name.
because
Like
Thomas
that name
broke
is
the rules
something
of her
that should be
system and
fairly
introduced
solidly in my
catastrophic
head,
risk.
and I couldn't remember
Risk
it.
she
So,
refused
and his
to
boyfriend
own.
wasn't solidly
So
in my
where
head.
does that leave
It
her
never,
now?
Never really
Let's game the board
got
after
to
the
where
finale.
he was a
Homelander's
memorable
still on top.
person
The
or had a
Resistance
memorable
just recruited
name.
Marie's entire core
Whereas
team, with Marie now
A-Train, I
openly
definitely
presented
knew
as
his name,
Odessa's other
and
crown
and
jewel.
I've definitely
Stan Edgar
he's
has
definitely got a
re-entered the
memorable
chat,
name,
having
and
delivered
it's
the
definitely been
Odessa
solidly
history
in my
lesson
head long
and
enough that
pointed
it shouldn't
Marie
have
at
been
the
a
right
problem
target.
to remember, but
And Vought's internal power lane just lost Thomas, while Polarity, newly healed, is sitting in the dean's chair at a school with a PR crisis, which is exactly the kind of institution Sage can sculpt from a distance if she needs to. All of those outcomes are Sage compatible. None pin
that
her to a
mean that
single failed bet.
Polarity might be able
She
to be
can
the
plausibly
dean next
tell
time.
Homelander she contained a rogue
I
variable
doubt it,
that
but
would
you
have
never
panicked
know.
him.
That would be
True.
a good
She can deny
option. If
any
she wants to
operational
have
tie to
control
Thomas's
and
reveal.
she doesn't want
Also true.
mayhem.
And if the resistance grows inconvenient, she knows its faces, its assets, its soft spots, because she engineered the pressure that formed it in the first place. There's a quieter detail that sells this. Sage is the one who makes the humane, practical call in the middle of Thomas's spree. She frees Polarity. She doesn't deliver a speech or switch sides in public. She just opens a door. The smartest person in the world solves problems the way engineers do. Remove constraints, let the system auto-correct, and keep your fingerprints light. It's the exact same style as planting one line of intel months earlier to nudge Marie back to campus. Single moves, big ripples. Now I can hear the counter-argument, but she wanted Thomas for Phase 2. Totally. She wanted the capability Thomas represented, scalable mind control over Apex soups. She didn't need Thomas the man. The moment he proved he couldn't follow protocol, he became a broken tool. The plan survives the tool's failure if you've already cultivated an alternate. And at the end of Season 2, that alternate exists. Marie. We learn Godolkin couldn't control her. He tried. She was too powerful. If you're calculating like Sage, Marie just outqualified Thomas as the safer path to a Homelander leash. Either directly, blood-based neural interventions, or indirectly, a resistance spear point with Marie at the tip. That's a cleaner, more controllable model than gambling everything on an egomaniac in a borrowed body. There's another layer. optics. Sage understands story. Elevating Homelander required myth-making. Leashing Homelander will require counter-myth. You don't beat the king with a ghost in a tank. You beat him with a hero people can believe in. Marie's arc this season, learning to stop self-harm, claiming her power, healing the broken, saving students who hate her, and finally blowing the head off the school's god, is myth crack. By the roadside, Starlight literally calls her into a named resistance. That's branding. That's a banner Sage can use later, whether she claims to have nurtured it inside Vought, or claims to stand apart from it, if Vought needs a public villain. Either way, she wins because the board is still solvable, and she still knows all the players. So, here's the simple version of the theory. Sister Sage set up 2 win conditions: a leash, Godolkin-style control, or a counter, Marie-led resistance. She tried to launch the leash under strict timing, Phase 2, with Homelander calm and the public blind. When Thomas blew the timing and threatened to spook the Apex, she scrapped that prototype in real time, activated a safety valve, polarity, and allowed the counter to fully form around Marie. She loses a tool. She keeps the system. That is exactly how the smartest person alive would play it. Where does it go next? If Sage stays true to form, she'll keep nudging outcomes, not owning them. Expect micro moves that look like coincidences, bad intel that lands in a specific inbox, a door that's mysteriously unlocked, a talking head on Vought News changing the narrative at just the right hour. She'll keep Homelander's ego warm but unprovoked. She'll keep the Resistance angry but unsnuffed. She'll keep Marie in motion because motion is pressure, and pressure levels you up. Thomas was right about that, even if he died for saying it out loud. And when the final pressure test comes, Homelander versus the world, Sage will try to be the only adult in the room with 3 plans, not 1. 2 last pieces lock this in. 1, Marie's healing now breaks rules. She doesn't just clot blood. She reverses degenerative disease in polarity and rethreads damaged neural networks in Kate. If you're designing a Phase 2 leash, Marie is a living fail-safe. She can repair the strain any leash would put on Homelander or the tool using it. That means the leash can run longer, harder, without killing your asset or your target. That's a systems engineer's dream. Maximum control with minimum loss. 2, Sage already showed she'll change the future mid-flight. Annabeth sees Marie's death. Sage's choice frees polarity. Polarity disrupts Thomas. Marie lives. That's not magic. That's a planner updating the model and swapping a part in the machine. If she can do that once, she can do it again. Against Homelander, against Butcher, or even against Stan Edgar if he moves in ways she can't predict. She's not married to anyone. She's married to solvable. So no, Sister Sage didn't fumble the bag. She tossed a faulty one down a well and kept walking with 2 more, because she was never building just one path to power.
Right.
She was building a net over a school, a company, a city, and a god in a cape. And as long as Marie keeps breathing, that net is still live. If I'm right, watch for 3 tells in the next chapter. Sage quietly reins in public chaos. No surprises for Homelander. Marie's team gets just enough oxygen to keep winning small, and a new control prototype appears. Something that looks nothing like Thomas, but solves the exact same problem. That's Phase 2 the Sage way. Not one masterstroke, but a vault of levers. Pull the right one at the right time, and even gods move where you want them. And that's the real power of Sister Sage. She doesn't play checkers or chess. She plays the whole damn board. If you enjoyed this deep dive and
I mean,
want to see
isn't
how
that
her
what
plan
chess is
ties
supposed
into
to
The
be
Boys
doing, is
season
playing
5,
the whole board?
make sure to hit that like button,
Sort
subscribe,
of.
and turn on notifications. Trust me, you
Alright.
won't want to miss what's coming
Stop
next.
this. Okay, alright, let's go back to live screen. Alright, so we don't necessarily have another season. If we do, we don't know when it's going to happen. They said that they're looking at ratings to decide whether they want to do another season or not. I think Kripke said that he does have other stories he would like to tell for GenV, but he has to decide based on the ratings. So who knows? I think I've heard mixed things. The little bit that I've heard about how the ratings were, I've heard mixed things, but I haven't listened to anybody in detail or anything talk about it, and I haven't looked for any reports. We know that this is going to be continued in The Boys. The Boys has one more season left, season 5. And really, it's been a while since I've watched any of it, and I've forgotten a lot of it, so I really feel like I need to go back and watch The Boys from the beginning again. I'm not going to do reactions for it, but I do think I should go back and watch it so that I can remember more of what happened, and then get ready for season 5. I need to find out when season 5 is coming out, too. Let me go ahead and look that up. No specific release date. It's expected to premiere sometime in 2026. Okay, and like I said, I'm not reacting to it. I'm not going to do anything with it. But I do watch with my husband. So sometime in 2026. The premiere of the 5th season, which is the final season, is anticipated in 2026. Filming is complete. Principal photography for season 5 wrapped on July 1st. Post-production. The time between the end of the filming and the release of season 4 was about 14 months, suggesting a similar or longer wait for season 5. Yeah. Okay. Alright. So I think that is all I have for you. I am starting on Deadlock episodes, doing reactions to Deadlock. That is a kind of murder mystery that takes place in Australia. It's kind of funny, kind of not. I like it. It's been interesting so far. I'm not done with it, but I've gotten a healthy amount through it. So I'll be posting reactions to that once a week. I am continuing with Attack on Titan. I'm going to do the first 25 episodes, and after I get to episode 25, I will go back to Tokyo Ghoul and do at least one season of, I think it's called Review or something like that. Tokyo Ghoul Review or something. Something like that. Let me see if I have that up there. I don't think so. No, I have it on Attack on Titan right now. But yeah, I'm gonna do one season of Tokyo Ghoul, then I will probably start another anime, and then come back and do the last season of Tokyo Ghoul. Attack on Titan, I was only planning on doing one season, because that's what I kind of want to do, is go to just doing one season of several animes, so I can, because I haven't really watched a lot of animes, and that will give me more experience watching animes, since I haven't really done a lot of that, and I do find some of them very interesting. But that's all I have for you for right now. I will see you when I see you. Bye.